Hi class, welcome to Introduction to Philosophy. My name is Mike Pancras. I'm really excited to be working with you. And throughout the quarter, I'm going to be recording and presenting lectures on the various topics that we'll be covering. And I made my backdrop my bookshelf so I look even more intelligent and respectable to you. So I hope that works. But it's exciting to be here, and I look forward to working with you. So today's first lecture is on our topic, philosophy. What is philosophy? So here's the thing. We all have beliefs. And I'm sure that in this room, in this space, there are students who have opposing beliefs. While one believes X, another believes the opposite of X. Now, it's likely that many of us in this room have true beliefs that actually are in accordance with reality. And as we have opposing beliefs represented in this classroom, it's also likely that many of us have false beliefs. And the most likely scenario is that all of us have a mixture of some true beliefs and some false beliefs. And what philosophy does is it thinks critically about beliefs, and it asks you to analyze your beliefs and see how well or poorly they are defended. And it seeks to cast out those false beliefs and to retain those true beliefs. So here's a belief that we can start out with. This says, if I'm presented with a product made from sweatshop labor and the same one made by workers with decent pay and benefits, I ought to buy the latter, even if it costs more. Okay. And this is a belief that might guide people in their spending habits. Okay. Now, philosophers will want to know why one ought to accept this belief or that belief. In other words, you have to be able to defend your beliefs. And what philosophers look for are those what we call fundamental beliefs. Okay? And what those are the beliefs that ground other beliefs. So as we start digging into this belief, we will be looking for any basic fundamental beliefs that help to ground it. Okay, so philosophers always start with a belief and the question: why should I accept that argument? Why should I accept that claim? Okay, so then we start to defend it. We start to get into what are called premises or reasons in support of this conclusion. Okay, so we might say that well, why should I buy a product from a worker with decent pay and benefits? Well, there must be something wrong with sweatshop labor. And what is that? Sweatshop labor causes suffering to the laborers. Okay, so sweatshop labor causes suffering. Okay, and because there is an alternative to the products of sweatshop labor, we can also say that sweatshop labor is unnecessary. It's not necessary. We can have a world where workers are paid adequately and have rights and have benefits. Okay, so sweatshop labor is unnecessary. Okay, and then as we dig down, because someone might then challenge us and say, well, sure, I can admit that sweatshop labor causes suffering and that it's unnecessary, but that I still can buy things made from sweatshop labor. I don't see why I should avoid it. Well, then you get to what essentially is a moral claim that is the fundamental belief grounding all of this. Okay, that it's immoral to cause unnecessary suffering. And once we've reached that premise, we have reached a fundamental belief. And we know it's a fundamental belief because it has bearing on much more than sweatshop labor. It is a general moral position. Okay, so not only does this help inform us in our spending habits and telling us that we should not buy products made from sweatshop labor, but it might also inform us in our eating habits. For instance, a vegetarian might operate on this principle and hold that eating meat causes unnecessary suffering to animals, to sentient beings. Okay, because we can live and thrive on a vegetarian diet, so that argument goes. So this moral principle is fundamental in that it supports our spending habits when it comes to sweatshop labor. It can also inform our eating habits. It can inform the way that we treat people. Okay, we say, well, I ought to, treat other people with respect. Well, why is that? Why is that? Well, we get to this claim that you can treat someone with respect and avoid causing them unnecessary suffering that comes with being treated disrespectfully. So this fundamental belief right here helps ground a whole bunch of moral claims. And in that sense, it is sort of at the base or at the root of many of the conclusions we can arrive at when it comes to morality. Okay, so this is what philosophers do. They take a claim and then they dig down into it and get into the meat of it and try to figure out what underlying assumptions are grounding it. Because once you get to this basic fundamental belief that it's immoral to cause unnecessary suffering, it becomes harder and harder to justify it. It feels innate. It feels intuitive. It feels like it's the kind of thing that doesn't need justification. Okay, that anyone who thinks that it's moral to cause unnecessary suffering, that you've just reached a point of fundamental disagreement, and you can't really justify it any more than that. So, in any, when exploring a philosophical issue, you'll typically get to some fundamental root, basic belief that can't itself be justified. And philosophers want to dig down into your various claims and find those fundamental beliefs to know what is at the root of this kind of thinking.